What can I say? Standing at the intersectionality of my blackness and my femininity, standing at the intersectionality of my blackness and my Christianity, standing at the intersectionality of my blackness and my role as a mother of 2 young Black boys, standing at the intersectionality of my blackness and my citizenship of what Maya Angelou called these yet to be united states of America. What can I say about the Black lives that have been lost due to racism? What can I say about the lives that have been lost to police brutality? What can I say about the lives that have been lost due to other abuses of power? What can I say about the weaponizing of a cell phone in the hands of a white woman? What can I say about white privilege? What can I say to an organization that seeks to prevail against genocide and mass atrocities in the international community about the genocide that occurs in America? What can I say about the years of institutionalized racism in America that began with the chattel slave system and has rendered our very DNA traumatized? What can I say about the systematic attack on Black lives under the guise of the crib to prison pipeline, inequitable education, inaccessible health care, and disproportionate incarceration? What can I say about institutionalized racism? I can say that it began when my ancestors, who were brought to America to be slaves, with many of them choosing a watery grave over what they envisioned their fate would be as they traveled, packed tightly in ships, breathing in the horrible stench of bodily fluids and death. I can tell you that their blood cries out from the abuse and the beating that they experienced as slaves. I can tell you that being considered 3/5 human and the deconstruction of the family continues to reverberate through our experience. But I believe each of you already knows that. So what can I say? Maybe I can't say anything. Maybe instead I can paint a picture. Imagine that a little Black girl in the early 70s lived in a world where, unbeknownst to her, there were some who were so disturbed by her living or simply breathing that they would seek to physically harm her. Imagine her teacher making her clean up behind the white children in her class. Imagine her not being allowed to participate at recess simply because of the color of her skin. If not corrected, imagine what that would do to her psyche and to the white children who began to see her mistreatment as normal and deserved. Unfortunately, I don't have to imagine that because it happened to me. Now imagine all the other Black kids that have similar stories, but they weren't removed as I was. Imagine that it just kept happening until they began to believe that they were less than. Imagine all the white kids who participated in this marginalization, at first unwittingly, but eventually actively. Now imagine being on the ground for 8 minutes and 46 seconds with someone's knee on your neck. But wait, you don't have to imagine that. You have likely seen the video, or at least a clip. In a world where my speaking too loudly about my situation may offend others, but my speaking too softly may allow those same people to ignore my voice and continue to marginalize me, this clip spoke volumes. This clip woke up a nation, captured a world, and seems to have begun a movement. The murder of George Floyd was horrific and tragic, and occurred because of a broken system that devalues Black lives and that allows abuse of power by those in uniform and elected officials. Yet his murder just may change the world. Feelings of utter disbelief gave way to anger. Anger not just for George Floyd, but for the countless other Black men and women who have senselessly lost their lives. Anger for the little girl experiencing discrimination by a person who has been entrusted with her care. Anger at years of systemic racism, marginalization, and subjugation. anger at being criminalized and then dehumanized. Now, I'm a Christian and a minister at that, and my Bible tells me to be angry but sin not. So instead of rushing past my emotions and putting them back on the shelf, instead of compartmentalizing the years of experiencing racism and witnessing the mistreatment of other people of color, whether extreme or the tiny little cuts people of color endure every day, I sat with my anger. I explored it and I embraced it. We are actually still hanging out, and now I'm listening to it. It is pushing me from frustration to fight. It is moving me from anger to action. It will not let me be silent. It is saying to me, in the words of Angela Davis, in a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist. You must be anti-racist. It is making me speak truth to power and to challenge myself and those I know to have real dialogue and not shy away for fear that my anger, my pain will make them uncomfortable. I know something about not making folks uncomfortable. It is part of the strong Black woman persona that I and many other Black women live into every day. We wear the title like a badge of honor when actually it is another way that we are dehumanized. My strength indicates that I don't feel pain, and it allows others not to see me as a multidimensional person. So I internalize my pain, and others around me are comforted by my strength, but not this time. My anger will not allow it. My anger, like Queen Esther, has been waiting for such a time as this to push me to do something. First, my anger is pushing me to realize that it is actually rage. Anger is more temporary, but this feeling that I sit with day and night is by no means temporary or fleeting. It reaches back to the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow America. It rehearses the litany of names that have been murdered senselessly and unjustly. It cries out against a world that might treat my two sons in the same way that George Floyd or Trayvon Martin were treated, simply because of the color of their skin. It is constant and threatens to bubble up at any moment. But then my rage is met by my faith, and I move from rage to reverence and rational behavior. So what does my frustration to fight, my anger to action, my rage to reverent rational behavior look like? It looks like me having uncomfortable conversations. I've been asked by several people who are not people of color what they could do during this time. Instead of trying to be politically correct and validate how they might be feeling, as I might have in the past, my advice to them was to listen. Engage with Black people, but do not negate our concerns. We have spent our lives listening to how whites feel and think, while our concerns have been more like a whisper. Our voices have now raised to a shout. Don't miss this opportunity to hear us because you feel uncomfortable. Further, it looks like actively engaging in strategic planning with organizations that stand for social justice and racial equality. It looks like me challenging my white friends to be an anti-racist voice in the rooms that I don't have access to and with the people who will not hear the message coming from me. It looks like me challenging other people of color to get engaged and speak their truth. It looks like me saying to myself and others I've just referenced, please do not miss this opportunity or moment that seems to be leading to a movement. It looks like me accepting speaking invitations even when I don't know what I can say. It looks like me challenging you who are doing great work internationally not to let America off the hook. Black Rage has partnered with the outrage of the international community, and it is compelling everyone to acknowledge the genocide that is America's not so well kept secret. Please be a partner with those shining a light, even on America, to stamp out the institutionalized racism that stems from America's original sin. That is what I can say.